Hey, here I am again. This is Goose, and this is On With The Show. And yeah, I took a tiny step back because it has been a rough week for me. Um, Having some things, happen here, job-wise, and all the other things going on uh, here. But I'm still smiling. I'm still here, and that's kind of about what we're going to be talking about today, as far as today's show. Because last week was kind of a brutal week when it came to celebrity news and celebrity deaths. Apparently, there was 5 deaths that happened in one week. Usually, they happen in a row of threes. It's what they usually, or count of threes, is what they usually say. But we get five celebrity deaths in 1 week. It was really brutal. Plus, we found out the cause of death of another celebrity, and that was kind of shocking too, which is kind of the reasons why. So if you kind of hold on, kind of stay with me. This is going to be a long video today, but I had to get all of this out. Some of it I've already talked about last week, but before we get into everything, if you haven't already, go down, subscribe to the channel. Bang the bell for notifications. Bang the bell for notifications. You always know when new videos are uploaded, and give me a big like on the video because it does help me with the algorithm and to get this out to other people, more people. Just let other people know where we're going. And let's start with a headline from NPR last week talking about 1960s pop star Connie Francis has died. The singer's life was touched by tragedies. July 17th, 2025, written by Jeff London. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. And it goes here, pop singer Connie Francis has died at 87, the first female singer to reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. She was known for her hit single, Who's Sorry Now? I'm not going to sing it for you. And for singing the theme song and appearing in the 1961 film, Where the Boys Are. Her publicist, Ron Roberts, announced her death on Facebook, and was born Conchetta Francanero. Hopefully I said that right. In Newark, New Jersey. She changed her name at age of 13 when television host Arthur Godfrey suggested that Connie Francis would be easier to pronounce. I kind of agree with that. Her big breakthrough came in 1957, when she covered an old 1923 tune called Who's Sorry Now? Francis hated the song, which is not uncommon, but it was a big hit, eventually reaching #4 on the Billboard Hot 100. It stayed on the charts for months. Who's Sorry Now would become one of her signature songs and the eventual title of her autobiography. Francis sold over 40 million records before she was 25. 16 of them went gold. Her #1 hit, Everybody's Somebody's Fool, came out in 1960. Her acting career was brief. She appeared in a short string of undistinguished romantic comedies, and within a few years, her life became touched by more tragedy than success. Here we go. Let's get into this. In 1967, one of her closest friends was strangled to death in her home. That same year, Francis underwent cosmetic procedure meant to narrow her nose, but it damaged her ability to sing. Listen to this. I couldn't sing in air-conditioned rooms, she told Fresh Air's Terry Gross in 82, which presented great problems in Las Vegas. They had to shut the air conditioning off, and the people would wilt, and I would, and the band would. In 1974, Francis was raped at knife point and beaten at a Howard Johnson motel after singing at a music festival in Westbury, New York. She successfully sued the company for failing to provide adequate security. At $2.5 million, it was then the largest awards ever in a rape case. And during the 1976 trial was not easy, but it was quoted by the courtroom in the New York Times saying, "If what we did here could save one girl, it was worth it." The botched nasal surgery made it difficult for Francis to work. There was a doctor in New York who said that he could correct this, she told Fresh Air. So I went for surgery, and 2 weeks before I went in for that surgery, I was recording an Italian album, and 2 weeks after the surgery, I went back to finish the overdub of the album. And that was one of the most terrifying moments of my life because my voice was gone. So it wasn't the rape that affected my voice. It was definitely the surgery. And I had a range of about 7 notes. That was not one song I could sing from beginning to end. So incidentally, 2 months after I'd lost my voice, my husband got up and left. And he just left. And that was the end of that. It took 3 more surgeries before Frances could sing again. She was hospitalized for bipolar disorder on multiple occasions. Her brother, a lawyer who had recently testified as part of an investigation into the mafia dealings, was shot to death by a pair of gunmen in his driveway in 1981. Okay, so her entire life was met by one tragedy after another. You would think someone as successful as her, people think that once you become successful, you become famous and everything, that life is just easy. And a lot of times, in her case, that wasn't the case. I didn't know personally growing up, know a lot about Connie Francis other than the rape, because that was big news at the time. So, but I didn't know of any of the other tragedies and things that she was going through at the time, because she had basically become a recluse. You could read more of the article on NPR online. But that was mostly what I knew Connie Francis for, was that she was this great recluse who could really sing, and she was a very popular singer in the 50s and 60s, and it just kind of faded away from the limelight, and that's kind of a tragedy of its own. To think that she went in for a nasal procedure to basically narrow her nose, and it basically almost ruined her career, because it was done so poorly. I mean, things today are done very well, and the procedures, doctors, are very well trained in how to be able to handle those things, but not back then. I mean, it was it was almost a tragedy in itself that such a botched surgery to narrow her nose would cause so much grief and pain, in her inability to sing for such a long period of time. And that in itself, I mean, to be the first female to hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, that in itself is a tremendous honor to have. So rest in peace, Connie Francis. And then, of course, the very next day we hear, yes, Malcolm Jamal Warner, former Cosby Show star, dead at 54. This one is by the ABC News. Warner drowned off the coast of Costa Rica, local police told ABC News. This written by Angeline Jane Bernabe and Christopher Watson. Hopefully I got her name right. I'm sorry if I didn't. July 21st, 2025. It goes on to say, Malcolm Jamal Warner, the actor perhaps best known for starring in the TV sitcom The Cosby Show as Theo Huxtable, has died at 54. Warner drowned off the coast of Costa Rica on Sunday, Costa Rican National Police told ABC News. Warner's official cause of death was asphyxiation. Well, he drowned. Warner died near, hopefully I get this right, Cosals, a beach in Limon, Costa Rica, after getting caught up in a rip current Sunday afternoon, police said. Bystanders rescued him and took him to shore, where he received treatment, though he was declared dead by the Costa Rican Red Cross, police said. Warner was formally identified by Costa Rica's National Police, which described him as a tourist. Warner played Theo Huxtable for all 8 seasons of The Cosby Show, which ran from 1985 to 1992, receiving an Emmy nomination for the role. Warner also starred with Eddie Griffin. Get that right. He's also starred with Eddie Griffin in the 1996 to 2000 sitcom Malcolm and Eddie, as Dr. Alex Reed in the BET sitcom Read Between the Lines. He also appeared in guest roles on dozens of television shows over the years. Warner most recently starred in the Fox medical drama The Resident for 5 of the show's 6 seasons. Born August 18, 1970, Warner caught the acting bug early in life and graduated from the Professional Children's School in New York City. He made his first television appearance in the episode of the TV series Matt Houston, which I was a big fan of. And in 1982, he also appeared in the famed television series the following year. This was kind of a blow to me because, again, if you're a kid of the 80s, like I was growing up, you watched Malcolm Jamal Warner every Thursday on The Cosby Show. And the one thing I can say about Malcolm Jamal Warner is that he didn't get caught up in a lot of what happens with child stars as they grow older and don't, and they're not, a lot of child stars, they go through a phase where it's like, either A, that's they're only known for the one role, or B, they find themselves in trouble with the law. There's an undiscovered mental illness that no one knew was there until all of a sudden he's got his mugshot up. Amazingly enough, Malcolm Jamal Warner got through all that and had a very successful acting career. And that, I think, is one of the most remarkable things about his life. He was able to go from one hit TV show to another hit TV show to another hit TV show, and was able to keep himself out of trouble. And from what I read, there was another article I read that apparently, I guess, he was trying to save his daughter that got caught in the rip current, and that's how he got caught in the rip current. He was able to save her, but he ended up drowning himself. That is a very big blow. I mean, to anybody who grew up in the 80s, that is a huge, huge, huge blow to someone. And I just think that there's just a huge hole missing in Hollywood now that he's gone. He's gotten several tributes from all of his castmates from The Cosby Show, including Bill Cosby himself, which I'd read somewhere where it was like losing Malcolm Jamal Warner was like losing his own son again. That kind of hits deep. And just the shocking way in which he was on vacation and passes away from swimming in the ocean, which just basically tells you you need to be careful while you're out there. But if he was actually out there, trying to save his own daughter, I mean, I commend him. He's what an incredible individual, and he will be sorely missed. And then, of course, comes the next day, and I've already reported on this. As a matter of fact, you'll probably see a video at a link to the video at the end of this one, where this headline, which was Ozzy Osbourne dead at the age of 76, reported by TMZ on the 22nd. And I will quickly go over what I talked about. The legendary rock singer Ozzy Osbourne has died. In a statement to TMZ, the Osbourne family says Ozzy died Tuesday, surrounded by love. The cause of death is unclear, but it has now been reported that he passed away from complications of Parkinson's. The Osbournes say it is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. The Ozzy's family continues. He was with his family and surrounded by love. We ask everyone to respect our family privacy at this time. Ozzy is most famous for heading up the group Black Sabbath, founding the iconic rock band in Birmingham, England in 1968 alongside Tommy Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward. His death comes just after Ozzy performed one last time with Black Sabbath. The band received numerous accolades over the years, including 2 Grammy Awards and a 2006 induction into the Hollywood Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Among their most famous songs, War Pigs, Iron Man, Paranoid, Children of the Grave, and Sweet Leaf. Despite their meteoric rise to fame, Osbourne was booted from the group in '79 because of his alcohol and drug addiction, an issue he struggled with consistently over the next few decades. He then embarked on an incredibly successful solo career, which he released 13 studio albums, the first 8 of which all went platinum in the United States. He also won 5 Grammy Awards as a solo artist while penning hit tracks like Crazy Train and No More Tears. During this time, Sharon Osbourne took over as his manager. And like I said, I've already talked about Ozzy and the huge impact he left in the rock world. And I'm not going to go into a lot of details about that, because you can just go to the other podcast, the one I did earlier last week. and see that in more detail. But it is coming out more and more that that his family, I mean, is just devastated by this. They're so, I mean, his son and his daughter, and Sharon have all like commemorated, and said their goodbyes to him. And this was, I mean, and again, one of the things I said, last week was this was expected. This was unexpected, but expected, because we were I think everybody was surprised that he had lived so long. And to find that it wasn't the drugs and the alcohol that killed him, but it was actually, the complications from Parkinson's, which he had openly talked about the last several years of his life. So, and again, that was a big blow. Until 2 days later, when I'm perusing the headlines and I see pro wrestling legend Hulk Hogan dies at 71. Hulk Hogan that was from ESPN. The article goes on to read, Hulk Hogan, the star who took professional wrestling to the national mainstream and became the biggest money-making draw in the history of the industry, died Thursday at the age of 71. Florida police and WWE said. In Clearwater, Florida, authorities responded to a call Thursday morning about a cardiac arrest. Hogan was pronounced dead at the hospital, police said in a statement on Facebook. There were no signs of foul play or suspicious activity, Major Nate Burnside told reporters. A WWE posted a note on X saying it was saddened to learn the WWE Hall of Famer has died. One of pop culture's most recognizable figures, Hulk Hogan, helped WWE achieve global recognition in the 1980s. WWE extends its condolences to the Hogan family, friends, and fans. Hogan, whose real name was Terry Bollea, had been struggling with several health issues in recent years, including a problematic lingering back injury from his wrestling days. Hogan had not wrestled since 2012, but had been in the news recently as a founder of the Real American Freestyle Wrestling promotion and the owner of an upcoming New York City bar opposite Madison Square Garden, the site of many of his biggest matches. I will tell you this, of all the deaths that happened last week, this one also hit me really hard. I grew up watching Hulk Hogan wrestle in the 80s and into the 90s, and even sometimes in the 2000s. He was by far one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. He took wrestling to new heights with WrestleMania, and just to let you know, I was fortunate enough to see him wrestle live at the Cow Palace back in the 80s. As a matter of fact, he was headlining that show, and he incredibly enough, his opponent was the adorable Adrian Adonis, who has also passed on. And I think his grave marker is somewhere at one of the cemeteries here in Bakersfield, California. And so I was just amazed. First of all, the dude's tall. The dude was big. I mean, I would say he had to be at least maybe 6'7", 6'8". He was a big guy. Hulk Hogan was a big guy. And he knew how to entertain the crowd. And he also knew not just how to put himself over, but he also, I think, at times knew how to put his opponents over. He knew how to make his opponents look good in the ring at times while he looked good in the ring. Those are my impressions of Hulk Hogan. I know that there are a lot of people who will sit there and go, well, Hogan had such an ego, and he did a lot of politicking in the back, and he did not want to lose to this wrestler, didn't want to lose to this guy. And yeah, I mean, there are times where you can look at Hulk's career and realize and go, yeah, he was not the best narrator of his own story sometimes. There are times, but if you look at some of the other people he wrestled, I mean, there's a very famous, very, very famous case where, if you haven't seen it, he wrestled, Shawn Michaels, and of course Michaels was just like oversold everything that Hulk did, and it was comical. And I think maybe at one point they decided that's the route they were going to go, and Hogan didn't want to lose to Michaels, and they were supposed to have. It was supposed to be the first of 3 matches, and Hulk had to back out because his back was acting up, and that was the biggest problem with Hulk Hogan. Later on in his career, he had done that leg drop so many times, and that's just, if you look at how he does it, he jumps up, lands on his butt with that leg stretched out, and I think if you do that night after night after night after night, you're going to have back problems, and that's just how it was. If you don't think wrestlers don't get injured, they very much do. And Hulk Hogan was just one of these guys. He was larger than life. He was like a superhero in the flesh. There at times that's how you felt, and it was just amazing to see him work. And whatever you want to say about him, later on, a lot of people in the industry don't like him, and there are a lot of people who after he came out, campaigning for Donald Trump, especially didn't like him, and I'm appalled at some of the things people said and how they've celebrated his death because he was a Trump guy and I'm so glad he's dead and blah 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 and whatever. Have a little compassion, because when it's you on the slab, you're going to want people to mourn your death. You're not going to want people to celebrate and cheer that you're dead. But that all aside, I don't know how or why, but it just, when I saw that, I kind of lost my breath. He's 71. Yeah, I mean, you figure at 71 years of age, that it's almost expected that you're going to pass away at some point. But he looked to still be in incredible shape and incredible health, and it just goes to tell you, hey, you need to take care of yourself. Just take better care of yourself, because you don't know when the good Lord is going to say that's time. But that was and of course I've seen the headlines since then. And again, what's funny is I just had done a podcast a few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, about all the Hogan family drama that's going on between and it was good to see that Brooke Hogan had said that she had seen her father, and they had made amends, and she told him that she loved him, and that's very important. I mean, you want to make sure that the people around you know they love you. I know it's going to sound strange because they're going to be like, what are you doing, dude? Why are you getting all that? I just want you to know I love you. All right? So that one, when I read that, I was just like, I lost my breath. I was like, oh my gosh, Hulk Hogan's gone. But I can honestly say that I feel privileged to be able to have at least seen him live, to sit front row and be like, and just to be within 5 feet of the man. It was amazing. And you can say, oh, you're just gushing on him, like, well, yeah. Think about anybody you'd want to see, any rock star, any actor, anybody that you would want to see live, and they're right there, and you're like, crazy enough, that was also that same show. I got to see Tito Santana against the late Macho Man Randy Savage. That was a treat with Miss Elizabeth. I got to see Bret Hart versus Haku, which was oh my God, was such a good match. Was such a great match. And I don't even know. I haven't been up to the Cow Palace in decades, so I don't even know if they even still have pro wrestling at the Cow Palace. But man, it was just one of those privileged times where I got to see someone I really once a celebrity, which I could almost reach out and touch. I'm sure if I did, I had my hand slapped off. But then the crazy part, as I'm going into the next one, the crazy part was later that day, it came out we got this headline from USA Today, which says Chuck Mangione, whose jazz songs found new life on King of the Hill, dead at 84. This was from Marsha Greenwood from the Rochester Democrat Chronicle, who is also affiliated with USA Today, July 24th. And it goes on to say, Chuck Mangione, a prolific composer and musician who released 30 albums in his career, died July 22nd. A statement from his family confirmed he was 84. The family of Chuck Mangione is deeply saddened to share that Chuck peacefully passed away in his sleep at his home in Rochester, New York on July 22nd, 2025. And the statement shared July 24th with the Rochester Democrat Chronicle as part of the USA Today Network. Celebrated composer and virtuoso flugelhorn and trumpet player, Mangione began taking music lessons at age 8 and played in a jazz combo with his pianist brother Gap during his high school years. Yeah, if you've Chuck Mangione was one of these guys. First of all, I don't know what a flugelhorn is, other than I think it's just a bigger form of a trumpet. I don't know how much bigger because I don't know how much bigger because I know there's a trumpet and I know there's a French horn that but I don't know where the flugelhorn meets. Maybe somewhere in the middle. But he was one of these guys who played I guess you'd say smooth jazz, easy rock, yacht rock, something like that. All instrumental. All incredibly well gifted. This was a guy whose music I listened to in the late 70s. And early 80s, especially in the early 80s when the easy listening yacht rock kind of music was really starting to take off, like I want to say from like about maybe 78, 79 to like 83 maybe. And he was one of these just amazing musicians you could sit there and listen to, just kind of kick back and relax, like, oh yeah, just listen to this music, this is so good. And I believe he also did the song for the 1980 Olympics. But it was just, it was kind of like, oh, and this wasn't, truthfully, I mean, this happened the same day that Hulk Hogan died. So this might, sadly, as it sometimes happens, I mean, his death will probably get overshadowed by Hulk's death. Because, the same day. This has happened, in my lifetime, this has only happened one other time before. And this is when, like Farrah Fawcett died. Oh, we're mourning Farrah Fawcett. And then within hours later, Michael Jackson dies. Michael Jackson's dead. And everybody forgot about poor Farrah. Which, I was like, don't you know that one of the biggest icons of the 70s, with the beautiful hair, she passed away. Yeah, but Michael Jackson died. And I think that same thing happened here. It's like, Hulk Hogan dies, and people go, oh, do you also know Chuck Mangione died? Really? Oh, wow. But Hulk Hogan died? Sadly enough, but I mean, Chuck Mangione was a great musician. And if you have a chance, you should just go to Sirius, go to Spotify, go to Pandora, wherever you go to listen to your music, and just put in, Chuck Mangione, and you'll hear some of the most incredibly soft, sweet jazz, easy rock listening music that is just amazing. It's like I said, it's the kind of, they call it yacht rock now, but it's kind of like the kind of music where you sit back with I don't know, your wine or your beer, just sit back and listen and just relax. It's pretend you're out on the water. That's so good. But it is a great loss. I mean, fortunately, though, he passed away in his sleep, which means, he more likely he died of natural causes. But it's still a loss, whatever. And so it's like, again, 5 deaths in 1 week. Connie Francis, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Ozzy Osbourne, Hulk Hogan, Chuck Mangione. And you're like, my gosh, is it going to stop? And then I get to see this other headline, this one also from USA Today. It says, Ann Burrell's cause of death revealed after Food Network star dies at 55. This one written by Jay Stahl from USA Today on the July 24th. And it goes on to say, celebrity chef and Food Network star Ann Burrell's cause of death has been revealed. The 55-year-old TV personality was found dead on June 17th and the Office of Chief Medical Examiner in New York City ruled the manner of death as she took her own life. That she took her own life. According to a statement shared July 24th with USA Today, Burrell's cause of death was acute intoxication due to the combined effects of diphenhydramine, ethanol, cetirizine, and amphetamine. The medical examiner determined. The spunky Food Network contributor, recognized for her platinum blonde hairdo and fiery but joyful disposition, made her debut in 2005 on the Culinary Channel's cutthroat competition series Iron Chef America. Later, Burrell rapidly became a mainstay as host of Secrets of a Restaurant Chef and most famously Worst Cooks in America. So, yeah, that was to think that Anne Burrell took her life. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm dumbfounded. I'm like, how, why, you know? And I don't know if it's like one of these things where it's like, you don't know. I think that's what the most shocking thing is with a cause of death like this. Is that when you read it, you're like, wait a minute. That at first you're like, this doesn't make any sense. But we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We don't know what she's struggling with. We don't know if there's any mental illness she's struggling with. We don't know what is truly going on, other than she was found in her shower, dead. Could it have been accidental? It surely could have been accidental. Could it, but then again, we don't know the toxicology report says she had all these drugs in her system, which means she must have had a massive amount of these drugs in her system. And so you have to wonder, I mean, did she take her own life, or was it an accident? And we're not going to get this. We're not really going to get the end of it because we really don't know. We could sit here and speculate all we want about how she passed. I'm being very careful here because YouTube is like, if you say the wrong word, you could. If you say the wrong word, you could be, and I don't want to get into that because I believe in freedom of speech. I should be able to say most of what I want to say. There's some things I don't, I shouldn't be able. There's some things I'm like, nah, I shouldn't say that. But we don't know what was going on, and I think that's even a bigger tragedy in this whole thing because. Could she have accidentally taken this stuff? Yes. Could she have done it on purpose? Yes. Was she struggling with anything? We don't know. And I think all those questions make it an even bigger mystery because of how she was found. She was found, in her shower. And it certainly looked like, her career was just continuing to skyrocket. I mean, the Worst Cooks in America is one of, I don't want to say the funniest shows on the Food Network channel, but it certainly becomes entertaining when you see how what it is that these people cook and try to eat, and how she was able to get in there and train them and teach them and say basically, here's. And I just it you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like you don't know how to put an end on this story. And I think, truthfully, that is where it needs to end. That's where it's got to lie. Is that we really don't have an ending on this. It'll probably end up, is in some person's, what's the word I'm looking for? Conspiracy theory, how did Anne Burrell really die? It's kind of like, how did, what was the real cause of death of Brittany Murphy, people will kind of look at this and go, what was the real cause of death of Ed Burrell? Well, we don't know. That's the problem. And I think that's something that a lot of people are going to struggle with. The fact that, the coroner has ruled it what it is, where she took her own life, is very much hard to swallow. It's shocking. It's probably more shocking than some of the things I've read this week. Again, we've had 5 celebrity deaths, and we've had one cause of death before we find out, how she died, or what's determinative of her death is, and we're all kind of like, we're all left like with more questions than answers, and that's going to be the hard part. That's going to be the hard part to kind of go with for the rest of this. Anyway, I didn't go as long as I thought I would, which I guess is a good thing. But I did want to tell you this was going to be a longer video than it has. It's a longer video than but I want to thank you for sticking with me on this podcast today, and hopefully I'll get back on track, because I was going to talk about some of this last week, and it just kept steamrolling and getting bigger and bigger and bigger as time went on. So I figured, let's just do one show about this whole thing. And like I said, I'm glad you stuck with me on this. I'm glad you stayed with me on this whole video, and let's hope we have a better week this week than we did last. If you haven't already, go down to the description, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, bang the bell for notifications. Bang, bang, bang the bell for notifications, so you always know when new videos are uploaded. Give me a big like on the video. Let me, so that it helps with the algorithm and get this out to more and more people. Share this out to your friends, family, neighbors, and do me a favor, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this that has gone on this last week, because it is kind of shocking. It is kind of shocking to have all that went on, and give me your comments. Let me know if you have, what your comments are for any of the people that I talked about today. And thank you very much for watching. This is On With The Show. My name is Goose. I will see you on the other side.